I've been a doctor for over 35 years. I've told thousands of patients to cut back on sugar. I wrote it on prescription pads. I said it in appointments. I handed out pamphlets about it. But I had never actually done it myself. Not for a full 30 days. Not seriously. Not with real commitment. So at age 65, with a little too much weight around my middle and joints that were starting to complain every single morning, I decided to stop talking about it and actually do it. And what happened over those 30 days honestly surprised me. And I'm a doctor. I thought I knew exactly what to expect. By day 7, something happened to my knees that I hadn't felt in years. By day 14, my wife told me I seemed like a different person. And by day 30, I had a result that I'm going to share with you at the end of this video, one that genuinely made me emotional. So stay with me. This is not a diet video. This is not a lecture. This is me, a 65-year-old doctor, telling you the honest, unfiltered truth about what removing sugar from your body actually does, especially when you're over 60. Let's get into it. Before we start, I want to tell you exactly what you're going to get from this video, because I hate when people waste my time, and I assume you feel the same way. Here's what we're covering today. First, what I actually cut out, because no sugar means different things to different people, and I'm going to be specific. Second, I'm going to walk you through what happened week by week, day 1 through day 30. The good, the bad, the embarrassing, all of it. Third, I'm going to explain why each thing happened from a medical standpoint, not in jargon, in plain English. And finally, what I'm doing differently now and what I think you should consider if you're over 50 or 60 and thinking about trying this. Now, I am a doctor, but I am not your doctor. Nothing in this video is personal medical advice. If you have diabetes, are on medication, or have any blood sugar condition, please talk to your physician before changing your diet significantly. That said, let's go. Okay, so here's where I have to be honest with you, because the word sugar is confusing. I did not go full carnivore. I did not eliminate every carbohydrate on earth. This wasn't some extreme starvation experiment. What I cut out was this: added sugars, refined sugars, the stuff that doesn't belong in food but ends up in almost everything. That means no table sugar, no honey, no maple syrup, no agave, none of those healthy alternatives either, because to your body, sugar is sugar. No soft drinks, no fruit juice, and yes, even 100% pure orange juice has an enormous sugar hit. No candy, no chocolate, no pastries, no biscuits, no cake, no flavored yogurt. That stuff is basically dessert pretending to be breakfast. No ketchup. Did you know a single tablespoon of ketchup has a full teaspoon of sugar in it? I didn't think about that for 64 years. And here's the big one. No processed foods with hidden sugars. Bread, pasta sauces, salad dressings, soups from a can. I started reading labels and I was genuinely shocked by what I found. What I did not cut out: whole fruit, complex carbohydrates like oats and sweet potato, and starchy vegetables. I was eating real food, just food without the added sweet poison. Now, let me tell you what happened on day 1. Day 1 was easy. I felt motivated. I felt like a man with a mission. Day 2 was when things got interesting. By mid-morning on day 2, I had a headache that sat right behind my eyes. Not a terrible headache, but persistent, nagging. By afternoon, I was irritable. My wife can confirm this. She's actually the one who suggested I might need to go for a walk, which is her polite way of saying, you are being difficult right now. What was happening? Sugar withdrawal. And yes, that is a real, documented physiological thing. It is not weakness. It is not in your head. Here's the science of it. When you consume sugar regularly, your brain releases dopamine, the pleasure chemical. Over time, your brain expects that hit. When you remove it suddenly, your dopamine system has a small crisis. It protests. Hence the headache, the irritability, the low mood. For people over 60, this reaction can feel more pronounced because decades of sugar consumption have given your brain a very well-established pattern to break. Day 3 was honestly the hardest day. I had cravings in the evening that I had not expected from a 65-year-old man who thought he had good self-control. I wanted something sweet so badly I stood in front of the fridge for about 4 minutes just staring at it. I closed the fridge. I drank water. I went to bed early. Day 3 was the test, and I passed it, barely. Something shifted around day 4. The headache faded. The irritability faded with it. And I started to notice something I hadn't expected at all. My energy in the morning felt different. Now I should tell you, for years I had been someone who needed coffee to function before 9 a.m. Not because I loved coffee, but because without it I felt slow and foggy. I assumed that was just aging. By day 5, I noticed I was waking up without that heavy cotton wool feeling in my head. I still had my coffee. I wasn't doing anything crazy, but I didn't feel like I needed it to survive. And then day 7 happened. And this is the thing I mentioned at the beginning of this video, my knees. I have had chronic knee pain since my mid-50s. Nothing debilitating but persistent. Getting out of a chair hurt, going downstairs hurt. My first 10 steps every morning felt like my knees were 90 years old even when the rest of me wasn't. On day 7 I walked down the stairs in the morning and halfway down I stopped. Because something was missing. The pain. That familiar grinding ache was quieter. Not gone. But noticeably, measurably quieter. I stood on the stairs for a moment genuinely wondering if I was imagining it. I wasn't. And if you have joint pain, pay very close attention to what I'm about to tell you because I'm going to explain exactly why this happened. This is the part where I put on my doctor hat for just a minute, but I promise to keep it simple. Sugar drives inflammation. That is not a theory. That is extremely well-established medical fact. Here's what happens. When you eat refined sugar, your body breaks it down and it enters your bloodstream rapidly. Your pancreas releases insulin to deal with it. But that process also triggers something called inflammatory cytokines. These are essentially chemical messengers that put your immune system on alert. Now, a little inflammation is fine. It's your body doing its job. But chronic daily sugar consumption means chronic daily low-grade inflammation. And where does that inflammation like to settle? In your joints, in your tissues, in your arteries, in your brain. For people over 60, this is particularly significant because you already have some age-related wear in your joints. Add inflammation on top of that, and you've got a recipe for consistent pain. When you remove sugar, you remove a major driver of that inflammation. And your joints, given a week or so, begin to feel the difference. This is not a miracle. This is just your body doing what it was designed to do once you stop interfering with it. By day 10, my knees were noticeably better. By day 14, my lower back, which I hadn't even mentioned to myself as a problem, also felt easier to live in. Now let's talk about what else was changing, and this one was visible. Around day 10, my wife said something to me. She said, "Your face looks different." I looked in the mirror. She was right. I looked less puffy, less swollen. There was a definition around my jawline that I hadn't seen in a while. Not dramatic, but real. This is water retention, and sugar is one of the biggest drivers of it that most people never hear about. Here's what happens. Sugar causes your kidneys to retain sodium, and sodium retains water. So people who eat a lot of sugar are often walking around slightly inflamed and bloated in their face, their hands, their belly, and they think it's just aging. It's not always aging. Sometimes it's last night's dessert. By day 14, I stepped on the scale. I had lost 4 kilograms, about 9 pounds, without counting calories, without going to the gym more than usual, without any dramatic change except removing sugar. Now, I want to be careful here. I was not trying to lose weight as my primary goal, but it happened. And for most people over 60 who cut sugar, it will happen because you are removing thousands of empty calories that your body was storing as fat, particularly around the abdomen. Belly fat, by the way, is not just a cosmetic issue after 60. Visceral fat, the fat around your organs, is directly linked to heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and inflammation. So losing it matters for your health, not just your trousers. My energy levels by day 14 were also noticeably more stable throughout the day. I used to hit a wall around 3 p.m. every afternoon. Most people do. That wall is a sugar crash, even if you don't realize you're having one. By week 2, that wall was gone. I need to stop here and talk about sleep, because this surprised me more than anything. I have been a light sleeper for 20 years. I wake up at 3 a.m., I lie there thinking about things, I get up in the morning feeling like I didn't quite rest. By day 12, I was sleeping through the night. Not every night, but most nights. And the nights I did wake up, I fell back to sleep much faster than before. The connection between sugar and sleep quality is something I honestly had not emphasized enough in my medical practice before this experiment. Here's what happens. Sugar causes spikes and drops in blood glucose overnight. Those drops trigger a stress response, cortisol goes up, and cortisol wakes you up. When your blood sugar is stable through the night, which happens when you're not spiking it with sugar before bed, your cortisol stays low, your body stays in repair mode, and you sleep deeply. For anyone over 60 who struggles with sleep, and that is most of us, this alone might be worth trying the 30 days. We are at the halfway point of this video, and I want to tell you something. Everything I've shared so far, the joint pain improvement, the weight loss, the better sleep, that was just the first 2 weeks. What happened in week 3 and week 4 was more significant, and I saved the biggest result for last, the one I mentioned at the very beginning that made me genuinely emotional. Don't go anywhere. Keep watching. I want to talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention when people discuss sugar and health, and that is what sugar does to your brain. Around day 15, I noticed I was thinking more clearly. I'm a doctor. I'm used to thinking clearly, but I had noticed over the previous few years that I would sometimes lose my train of thought mid-sentence. I'd walk into a room and forget why I came in. I'd be reading and have to reread the same paragraph 2 or 3 times. I assumed it was age. Doctors make that assumption too. By day 15 of no sugar, my recall was sharper. I was finishing sentences easily. I was reading and retaining what I read. Here is the science, and this is important for every person over 60 watching this. Your brain runs on glucose, but excess sugar doesn't help your brain, it harms it. Chronically high blood sugar damages the small blood vessels in your brain. It reduces the brain's ability to use glucose efficiently, a process that, taken far enough, is now being called type 3 diabetes in early Alzheimer's research. Sugar also reduces a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is essentially fertilizer for your brain cells. Low BDNF is associated with depression, cognitive decline, and memory problems. When you remove sugar, BDNF levels begin to recover. Blood flow to the brain improves, the fog lifts. This is not me being dramatic. This is documented in peer-reviewed research. By day 20, 3 different people, colleagues of mine, commented that I seemed sharper in conversation than I had been in a while. One of them asked if I was on new medication. I said no, I just stopped eating sugar. By week 4, something had fundamentally shifted in how I felt in my body from morning to night. I was waking up at 6 a.m. without an alarm, not because I forced myself to, but because I genuinely didn't feel tired anymore. My afternoons, which used to drag, were now the time of day when I got my best thinking done. I was taking evening walks, something I had been putting off for 2 years because by 7 p.m. I was too exhausted. What's happening here is your insulin sensitivity is improving. When you stop flooding your system with sugar, your cells start responding to insulin properly again. That means your body can actually use the food you eat for energy, rather than storing it as fat and leaving you feeling depleted. For people over 60, insulin resistance is extremely common, and it's one of the leading reasons that older adults feel chronically tired even when they're eating and sleeping reasonably well. It's not age, it's years of sugar disrupting how your body processes fuel. When you remove the sugar, you begin to reverse that resistance, and the energy that comes back feels different. It feels clean and steady, not the artificial spike you get from a biscuit or a sweet tea. It lasts all day. I want to be honest with you about cravings because I think a lot of people struggle with this and feel ashamed about it, and they shouldn't. The cravings were real. Week 1 was hard. Days 2, 3, and 4 specifically, I wanted something sweet badly enough that it was on my mind constantly. But here's what I discovered. Sugar cravings almost always peak and pass within 20 to 30 minutes if you don't feed them. My strategy was simple. When a craving hit, I drank a full glass of water, then I ate something with fat and protein. A handful of nuts, a boiled egg, a piece of cheese. Fat and protein are extremely effective at quieting sugar cravings because they signal fullness to your brain in a way that sugar never does. By week 2, the cravings became less frequent. By week 3, they were occasional rather than constant. By week 4, I would sometimes go an entire day without thinking about something sweet. That shift from constant craving to genuine indifference, that is the evidence that your brain chemistry is actually changing. It's not willpower, it's biology resetting. If you are over 60 and you think you could never give up sugar, I want you to hear this from a man who said the same thing. It gets easier faster than you think. Before I started this experiment, I had blood work done, and I repeated it at day 30. I am not going to share my personal numbers, that feels too intimate and frankly not the point. But I will share the categories of what changed. My fasting blood glucose dropped. It was borderline high before. At day 30 it was solidly in the normal range. My triglycerides, a type of fat in the blood strongly linked to sugar consumption, dropped significantly. High triglycerides are a major heart risk. Mine came down considerably in 30 days. My HDL, the good cholesterol, went up slightly, which surprised me. Sugar suppresses HDL, so removing it allowed my good cholesterol to begin recovering. My blood pressure, which was slightly elevated before, came down 8 points on the top number. I had not changed my medication. I had not drastically changed my exercise. I had removed sugar. Now, I am not promising these results to you. Your body is not my body, but the medical literature is very consistent. Refined sugar is one of the most powerful drivers of metabolic disease, and removing it produces measurable improvements in blood work for the vast majority of people, usually within 4 to 8 weeks. I want to tell you something that I debated including in this video, because it's personal. Around day 22, I noticed that my mood was different. Not dramatically, I wasn't suddenly skipping through the garden, but I felt more settled, more steady. I have had low-grade anxiety for most of my adult life, a background hum of worry that I had learned to manage but never really questioned. I assumed it was my personality. By week 3, that hum was quieter. I did some reading, and the connection between sugar and anxiety is well established. Sugar spikes your cortisol and adrenaline. It disrupts the gut-brain connection, and your gut, believe it or not, produces more than 90% of your body's serotonin. When you eat badly, your gut produces less serotonin. Less serotonin means lower mood, higher anxiety. When you eat real food without sugar, your gut microbiome begins to recover within weeks, your serotonin production stabilizes, your mood follows. I did not expect this, and it moved me more than the weight loss, more than the better blood work, because I had spent 65 years thinking my tendency toward worry was just who I was. It wasn't. Part of it was what I was eating. On day 30, I sat in my study and I wrote down everything that had changed. I had lost 6.5 kilograms, about 14 pounds. My knee pain was reduced by what I would estimate as 60 to 70%. My sleep quality had improved substantially. I was waking up once a night instead of 2 or 3 times. My energy was more consistent throughout the day than it had been in at least a decade. My blood work had improved across every major metabolic marker. My mental clarity was sharper. My anxiety was lower, and here's the thing that made me emotional. I called my son, who is 38, and I told him what I had done and what had happened. And he said, "Dad, you sound like you did 10 years ago." That's it. That was the result that mattered. Not the number on the scale, not the blood pressure reading. It was my 38-year-old son telling me I sounded like I had rewound a decade of my life in 30 days. I am not going to pretend that quitting sugar is a fountain of youth. It isn't. But it removes something that is actively aging you, and when you take it away, you get some of yourself back. And at 65, getting some of yourself back feels extraordinary. I want to be transparent. I did not stay zero sugar forever after day 30. I have a piece of dark chocolate occasionally. At a family birthday, I had a small slice of cake. I don't want to live in a way that makes me miserable at celebrations. But here is what changed permanently. Sugar is no longer a daily part of my life. I don't add it to anything. I don't drink it. I cook from real ingredients. And when I do have something sweet as a treat, maybe once or twice a week, I enjoy it genuinely, without guilt, and in a small amount. And I notice the difference in how I feel the next day, which keeps me honest. The goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness and a new default. My new default is real food, no added sugar, and I treat the sweet things as what they are, occasional treats, not daily staples. If anything in this video has made you curious about trying this yourself, here is my practical advice as both a doctor and someone who has done it. Number 1. Start by reading labels for 1 week before you eliminate anything. Just read. You will be shocked, and that shock is what builds your motivation. Number 2. Clean out your kitchen before day 1. If the biscuits are in the house, you will eat them at 10 p.m. Remove the temptation. Number 3. In the first week, eat more fat and protein than usual. Eggs, nuts, cheese, meat, fish, avocado. These foods signal fullness and dramatically reduce sugar cravings. Number 4. Expect days 2 through 4 to be hard. That's the withdrawal. It passes. Tell yourself it's temporary, because it is. Number 5. Drink more water than you think you need. Many sugar cravings are actually dehydration in disguise. Number 6. Don't make this social torture. If you're having dinner with friends, eat the protein, eat the vegetables, skip the dessert, don't make a speech about it. Just do it quietly. And number 7. Track how you feel, not just what you weigh. Keep a simple daily note. Energy level, sleep, pain, mood. Those numbers will motivate you far more than the scale. I started this experiment because I was tired of advising my patients to do something I had never fully committed to myself. What I got back in 30 days surprised me, and I think it might surprise you too. You don't have to be extreme. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to try, to give your body 30 days without something that has been quietly working against it. If you're over 60 and your joints ache, and you're tired, and your weight has been creeping up, and your sleep isn't what it used to be, please don't assume that's just aging. Some of it might be, but some of it might be sugar. And the only way to know is to remove it and see what comes back. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you tried cutting sugar? Are you thinking about it? What's stopping you? I read every comment, and I mean that. If this video was useful to you, please share it with someone you care about. We don't have a massive team here. It's just me and a desire to make genuinely helpful content for people in this stage of life. Your share means more than you know. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is the video to do it after. Because next week I'm covering something that directly connects to today's topic, the 5 foods that are marketed as healthy, but are actually full of hidden sugar and causing enormous harm to people over 60. You're not going to want to miss that one. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next video.